Do you have a habit, something that you think of in a negative way, a bad habit, so to speak, maybe even an addiction that you would really like to get rid of, to really once and for all break? Let's say it's something like checking your phone or your email or your social media for messages, for updates and activity every 5 minutes or so. And these days, I dare say, for many of us, it's even less than 5 minutes. But it's something that you're more likely to do, especially when you're not doing anything else, when you're not absorbed in anything else, such as, for example, writing a report, or driving, or cooking dinner, or designing a book cover, or sleeping. Those times, because you are so completely absorbed in whatever else it is that you're doing, that this urge doesn't kick in. Now, you may not be aware of how often you engage in this habit, but for our purposes today, let's say you do it every 5 minutes. Okay, so before I go on, if you haven't already guessed, this video is about the phenomena that we refer to as habits, or when we feel that they are particularly strong and particularly noxious, we call them addictions. So that's what we're talking about. Let's continue. So I know I suggested the habit or the urge or the tendency or the addiction to check our phones or our emails or our social media. But what I'm talking about today applies to any kind of habit or any addiction. So let's just do an experiment. Okay? So what if, instead of doing what you would normally do in your habit, in your addiction, you decide now, and I do mean right now, as you are listening to this, that the next time you find yourself reaching to check your phone or your email or whatever other habit you have in mind, that you will stop. As soon as you become aware of your, that urge to go and do that thing, you just stop. Take 5 deep, gentle, and slow, very, very, very slow breaths. And then take another 5 deep, gentle, and very, very, very slow breaths. What if you decided to do that? And may I urge you right now to just do this with me right now. Make that decision before you continue to listen to this video, to watch or listen, whichever it is that you're doing. Maybe you're doing both. So just press pause and, sincerely make that decision. The next time I feel the urge to do whatever it is, I'm going to just press pause on myself. I'm going to take 5 conscious, deep, gentle, slow breaths. And then when I've done that, I'm going to take another 5 deep, gentle, slow breaths. Okay? Make that decision. I didn't ask for you to do anything else, just to do those 5 plus 5 breaths. Okay, so now the next thing that I'm going to ask you to do is just rehearse that scene in your mind. Just rehearse it now. See yourself either picking up your phone or, clicking on your email, or picking up a cigarette, about to light it, or picking up that beer or that drink, whatever it may be, and you're about to, fulfill that urge that, either read what's in your mailbox or click on your particular social media platform or particular chat group or whatever it is. See yourself, imagine that happening. Visualize a scenario. You've done it so many times. I'm sure it's not going to be difficult for you to visualize this. And then, as you're about to do it, see yourself again pressing pause on yourself. Just pressing pause on that movie that's running in your mind, and see yourself now just sitting or standing or walking or lying in bed, whatever it is, and see yourself taking 5 deep, gentle and slow breaths, and then another 5 deep, gentle and slow breaths. And if you really want to, and I really encourage you to do this, just do it now. Just take those 5 breaths and then another 5 breaths. Okay, can you do that? Rehearse that scene right now. It's not going to take you long, as long as you're not driving at the moment or working with any kind of machinery. You can do this right now. Just visualize it. You've got a mind with this incredible superpower of being able to imagine, to visualize, to play back movies. So play this one, and this time, you have, your mind is so powerful. It has the power to interrupt that movie and create a different scene or modify the scene. So that's what we're doing right now. Okay? You're rehearsing this scenario in your mind. And, after you've listened to this video, after you watched it, rehearse it a few more times. And may I suggest, because this is how you get the best out of it, this is how it really works. Rehearse it as many times as you can, because you see, what you're doing when you're rehearsing this mental rehearsal that we're doing is literally, not metaphorically, not figuratively, not symbolically, but literally creating new neurological pathways in your brain and in your body for the same trigger that would have otherwise set you off on your habit or your addictive behavior. Really important to recognize this fact. So, you've probably heard of it, that mental rehearsal is a proven technique used by high achievers, including athletes, actors, public speakers, people who are serious about correcting unhelpful behaviors or habits, or wishing to overcome them altogether. The fear of public speaking, that nervousness, that anxiety. These are all habits that are embedded in your body-mind. But it is possible to work through them. And this is how we do it. Mental rehearsal is by far the most powerful technique. As a matter of fact, mental rehearsal is something that we're doing all the time, but we're not applying it in a conscious way to the things that we could be applying them to, such as changing habits that no longer serve us. And so mental rehearsal not only interrupts old habits, but in the process of interruption, it cultivates a completely new habit or behavior. As, for example, like when I'm trying to learn a new skill, such as a new guitar riff, you know, I'm used to doing it as playing the same old riffs or playing it in a certain way, but when I want to learn how to do something else while actually performing the technique is useful, what I have found is that when I can see it, visualize it, feel it in my body-mind, wow, and then go and try it out, the difference is astonishing. See, the power of rehearsing lies in the fact that as you mentally go through the motions of the desired behavior or the desired response, you're actually activating a whole set of associative neurochemical responses, including emotional responses, visual responses, kinesthetic responses, even though you may not be physically performing the desired action. This is the big so-called breakthrough. The breakthrough is really discovering that this is something that we're already doing it and learning, therefore, how to make more conscious, more intentional use of this naturally occurring ability and skill that we are already using. So this is powerful stuff, and it's made possible because your brain, and I'm sure you've heard this before, does not distinguish between physical action and movement and imagined action and movement. I often say to my clients when they kind of look at me and wonder, is she serious? Is she 100% serious? Is this actually true? I mean, and when I see them kind of, the cogs sort of turning in their heads and with doubt, I say to them, have you ever had butterflies in your stomach when you think about something that you are afraid of doing, that you're anxious about? Have you, males particularly, have had a wet dream when you're just lying in bed and you're just thinking about something, imagining something, visualizing something? Or have you broken out in a cold sweat, from a sleep, or when you're just wondering about or dreading something that you believe is going to happen? It's like watching a scary movie or an erotic movie, except that the movie is playing on the screen of your mind. And think about it, even if it were playing on a large screen, it's still not actually happening to you, is it? But it's enough to arouse all those reactions within your body-mind. Now, you can always substitute the 5+5 deep, slow and gentle breaths for something else, such as journaling, something that I strongly advocate and practice myself, or working on a jigsaw puzzle, or cooking, or anything else and here's the key, anything else that you effortlessly and guiltlessly enjoy. This is important. It mustn't be effortful, and it mustn't be riddled with guilt, because those are the things that actually draw you into your so-called bad habits in the first place. Think about that one. But I'm suggesting, deep breaths. Why? Because, hey, they're easy, they are cost-free, it's available to you no matter where you are and without any additional equipment, right? And they are gentle and non-threatening. And it's a way of really breaking the circuit and calming yourself right down so that you become this spaciousness, this calmness, this stillness. And what better state to be in if you're about to respond to something or about to react or about to make a decision? What better state of mind to be in, state of body mind to be in, than in a space, in a state of calm and stillness? Okay. And then as you continue to rehearse the desired behavior in your mind, your body mind becomes more and more predisposed to the desired behavior. And look, I'm sure I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. The more you think of something, the more you think of something. And the more you think of something, the more you are driven in the direction of that thing, into the action of that thing, into the acting out of that thing, right? We all experience this. And so this kind of mental rehearsal not only has the benefit of drawing you, activating from within you the desired behavior, the feelings of well-being, of calm, of confidence in yourself, reducing stress in your body every time you rehearse it, because you are going to feel the wonderfulness, the calmness, the loveliness of, taking those gentle breaths and seeing yourself behaving in a way that you feel really pleased about. In addition to all of that, you get the benefit when you physically perform the behavior. So it's a double whammy, so to speak. You experience it. You experience all that goodness while you are doing the mental rehearsal. And then when you actually perform that behavior, you, of course, experience this great sense of satisfaction. Okay. Now, most people, if we're talking about habits or addictions, the problem for a lot of people who've attempted to break an addiction or a habit or to cure themselves out of it, find it such a struggle. And it is such a struggle for two main reasons. The first is that, these are really important, so do pay attention. They try to physically change the behavior without any mental or emotional rehearsals of the preferred behavior. Okay? So they're taking the physical action, but the mental controls, the emotional controls are still happening. Why? Because they haven't reinforced those mental and emotional states through mental rehearsal. Okay, the second reason is that when they do try to change a behavior, a habit, an addiction, when they do try to change it, they often leave a vacuum. In other words, they might try to stop doing it. You might try to stop doing it, but you don't have anything to replace it with. So you're left with a vacuum. And I know I've said this many times before, that, there's a scientific law that nature abhors a vacuum because it's an unstable state. And so when you just stop doing something, you put yourself in a very unstable state. You need to therefore fill that vacuum with something. And what do you fill it with? As I said earlier, some behavior that is effortless and free from guilt and which feels emotionally satisfying and fulfilling. If you try to replace the behavior with another behavior that is effortful, that that brings up all kinds of negativity, that causes you to feel guilty when you don't do it, that is such a struggle. That is not going to be sustainable. I'm sure you've experienced this. It's not going to be sustainable, and before you know it, you've given up and you consider yet another attempt to be a failure. So this is why I'm saying, what you replace it with, you want to make sure that it is effortless, that it is free from guilt, and that it is emotionally satisfying and fulfilling, enjoyable, in other words. Okay. So if you are serious about breaking an unhelpful habit or an addictive behavior, make sure that you do these two things. Find an emotionally fulfilling, effortless alternative replacement behavior and rehearse the scenario. Do this mental rehearsal where you use the alternative behavior in place of the usual triggers and behaviors. Okay, and finally, as I said earlier, mental rehearsal is a skill that you already use. And, it is how you acquired your current unhelpful or addictive habits, right? How did you begin? You had to think about it. You had to, at first, imagine doing it. And then you did it. And then you did it again. And every time you engage in the behavior, in the initial stages, again, you keep thinking about it, and then you go do it again. And then again, you think about it, and you do it again, and you rehearse it again mentally, and then you go do it. And then to the point that after a little while, you don't have to do the rehearsal, it's so automatic. Well, that will be the case with your replacement, your alternative, your desirable habit that you want to replace the old habits with. It'll take the same trajectory. It'll seem like, this is, I have to be very present, very conscious. I have to think about it, very carefully, remember, etc., etc. So it feels a bit stilted, it feels a bit unnatural, etc. But then the more you do it, the more natural it feels, the more easy and seamless it becomes, the more, flowing and automatic it becomes, and it will become automatic. So I would encourage you to use this technique, and I'd love to hear whether you use other techniques to help you break habits, to help you find replacement habits, and please do share them in the comments, or if you have any questions, please do also feel free to share them in the comments. I want to wish you much love as always, and may your heart beat with the rhythms of peace. Hey everybody, I know it's so easy to forget. I do it myself so often, but please, if you did like this video, do hit the like button, do subscribe, do share, and most of all, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much.